Let's bring in Democratic Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts. Tell me, this is one of those days, there's a little bit of anticlimax because the decisions were made yesterday, especially by your colleague, Senator Collins of Maine. But this is a real history day. It may be a bad day for progressives, but it's real.
No, it's a huge day. The Republicans stole the Democratic seat, Merrick Garland, and now they've completed their assigned goal, which is to have two new seats, the stolen Obama seat. Now they have the real Trump seat, and now they have their 5-4 majority, just as that tweet said. But it is something that happened by a complete compromise of the Senate rules in 2016 by denying even a hearing on Merrick Garland. So they've won, but our base, the Democratic base, is going to be up. And remember this November, there's going to be a huge political price the Republicans are going to pay.
Do you think one of the unexpected consequences will be that liberals, progressives, Democrats generally care as much about the Supreme Court as conservatives, Republicans do? Because they clearly focus on the court, Republicans, voters.
I have never seen anything like what has happened in the last year and a half. We had 180,000 women on Boston Common just a week after Donald Trump was sworn in, and it has continued right through the demonstration out on the Supreme Court steps this afternoon. Women across this country are outraged at the Donald Trump administration and about his promise that he was going to nominate people to the Supreme Court who would overturn Roe v. Wade, overturn the Affordable Care Act. So he has put the activating fluid on. He has sowed the wind, and he is going to reap a political whirlwind this November.
Okay, you got two conservative judges you've replaced, but one was a real conservative, Scalia, who died, who really was a true believer all the way on the right, original intent, the whole thing. Then you got a guy who was hard to figure, Anthony Kennedy, who was very good, I think you'd say, on social issues, same-sex, things like that, the rights of minority, of gay people, whatever. This guy, Kavanaugh, is he going to be a replacement for Scalia? Is he going to be a replacement for Kennedy? Is he going to be a hard right? Do we know yet?
Well, they already got their replacement for Scalia. This is somebody who is going to sit in the Kennedy seat. But remember, during the Roberts Court so far, Kennedy cast the deciding vote in 92% of all 5-4 decisions during the entire Roberts era. So this new Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh, is a hard right guy. His judicial record makes it very clear that he's no Kennedy. He should not be confused with a Kennedy. This guy is going to side almost reflexively with the right-wing perspective in every decision and going to fundamentally change this court.
Let's talk Roe v. Wade, because that's a major concern of most people who are concerned about the court, both sides, pro-life, pro-choice. When do you think would be the first opportunity for this 5-4 court, which is clearly 5-4 hard right now, to act on Roe v. Wade? When would the next sort of turning point come?
I can't pinpoint, obviously, the exact state that they'll use as their laboratory to try to have a case percolate up towards the Supreme Court. But it's pretty clear that sometime during 2019 and 2020, in order to fulfill his promise to conservative voters in America, that they'll find some state, most likely a red state, which will have a statute which will be brought before the Supreme Court, and they'll pick their best case because they now have their best court.
Right. Well, let's talk about how this is going to hit, the tire's going to hit the road. Pennsylvania, the case of Casey, which really refined Roe v. Wade, which said no undue burden. In other words, a woman or a girl who wants to have the end of pregnancy can do so without any undue burden being put on her. She can do it in the main cases. What would they do? Would they say you have to do it at a hospital? You have to have this procedure done what would they do to make it to cut into the right to choose?
What they would do is they would say, we're going to allow the states to determine what an undue burden is. We'll allow 50 different states, meaning that, of course, Massachusetts, New York, California, they'll keep a strong standard.
But Kansas
But
won't.
if you're in Mississippi, you're in Tennessee, you're in South Carolina, it'll be a much lower standard, but with deference given by a Gorsuch-Kavanaugh court to the states to be able to determine what that burden is. And that is where we're going to wind up with real problems for tens of millions of women all across the country.
Okay, Senator Ed Markey, sir, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on. A great person to explain the whole thing. Anyway,